The old dollhouse sat in the attic, shrouded in dust and cobwebs. A relic of a bygone era, its tiny windows seemed to watch, to judge. I should have left it undisturbed, but curiosity, like a siren's call, drew me closer. The mahogany gleamed faintly beneath the grime, whispering tales of forgotten children and their silent companions. I reached out, my fingers tracing the delicate carvings, and felt a chill race down my spine. This was no mere toy. This was a vessel, and something dark lingered within. The dollhouse was a grand Victorian mansion in miniature, every detail meticulously crafted. Tiny portraits lined the walls, their subjects' eyes following my every move. A grand staircase spiraled upwards, leading to darkened rooms filled with miniature furniture and the ghosts of laughter long silenced. But something felt wrong, off. The air grew heavy, the silence broken only by the sound of my own breath. I felt a presence, unseen, watching me from the shadows of the dollhouse. I peered into the nursery, its wallpaper a faded yellow, peeling at the edges. A rocking horse stood frozen mid-gallop, its chipped paint a testament to countless imaginary rides. But it was the crib that held my gaze. Inside lay a porcelain doll, its eyes closed serenely. As I watched, the doll's head turned, its vacant blue eyes locking onto mine. A soft giggle echoed from within the dollhouse, sending shivers down my spine. The hair on the back of my neck stood on end. I was no longer alone. I stumbled back from the dollhouse, my heart pounding in my chest. Panic welled up inside me, threatening to consume me. As I turned to flee, my eyes fell upon a horrifying detail I had missed before. There, on the tiny floorboards of the dollhouse hallway, were bloodstains. Tiny crimson droplets, dried and dark with age, but unmistakably blood. The air grew thick with the metallic scent of violence, and I knew then that this was no ordinary haunting. Something sinister had transpired within these walls. Section 5. A Ghastly Tableau. Drawn back to the dollhouse by a morbid fascination I couldn't explain, I discovered another room, its door slightly ajar. Inside, a scene of unimaginable horror awaited. Tiny figures, frozen in time, depicted a struggle, a fight. Furniture lay overturned, and blood, more blood, stained the walls and floor. Terror, raw and primal, emanated from the scene. The dollhouse was no longer a plaything, it was a crime scene, a macabre diorama of a nightmare. Section 6. The Attic's Dark Secret. The attic, once a place of forgotten treasures, now felt oppressive, suffocating. The air was thick with dust and the scent of decay, making it hard to breathe. Every step I took echoed ominously, as if the attic itself was alive, watching my every move. The dollhouse, bathed in the weak light filtering through the dusty window, seemed to pulsate with a malevolent energy. It was an old, intricate structure, with tiny rooms and miniature furniture, but there was something deeply unsettling about it. The windows of the dollhouse seemed to follow me, and I couldn't shake the feeling that I was being watched. I felt a presence behind me, cold and menacing. The hairs on the back of my neck stood up, and a chill ran down my spine. It was as if the very air around me had turned icy, and I could feel the weight of unseen eyes boring into me. Turning slowly, I saw her. My heart pounded in my chest as I tried to make sense of what I was seeing. A young girl, her eyes hollow, her dress stained with blood. She looked like she had stepped out of a nightmare, her expression vacant yet filled with an inexplicable sorrow. She stood in the shadows, her face a mask of pain and rage. Her eyes, though empty, seemed to burn with an intense, unspoken anger. It was clear that she had suffered greatly, and her torment was far from over. This was her dollhouse, her prison, and I had become an unwitting participant in her torment. The realization hit me like a ton of bricks. I was not just an observer. I was now a part of this dark, twisted story. The attic, the dollhouse, the girl, they were all connected in a web of sorrow and despair, and I was trapped in it with no clear way out. Section 7. They move only when you look away. In the dimly lit room, the dollhouse stood as a silent sentinel, its tiny windows flickering with an unsettling light. The air was thick with an eerie stillness, broken only by the occasional creak of the old wooden floorboards. Her eyes, filled with an ancient sorrow, held me captive. They seemed to tell a story of endless nights and unspoken fears, a tale that was both haunting and mesmerizing. I felt a chill run down my spine as I met her gaze, unable to look away. I couldn't move. couldn't breathe. My heart pounded in my chest, each beat echoing like a drum in the silence. The room seemed to close in around me, the walls pressing in as if they were alive, watching, waiting. She pointed a spectral finger at the dollhouse, her voice a raspy whisper that sent shivers down my spine. "Look," she said, her words barely audible, yet they cut through the silence like a knife. "Look at them." "They're still alive," she breathed, her words hanging in the air like a curse. The room seemed to grow colder, the shadows deeper, as if her very presence was drawing the warmth and light away. "They move only when you look away." The words echoed in my mind, a chilling mantra that seemed to take on a life of its own. I felt a compulsion to look, to see if it was true, but fear held me back. Her words released me from my paralysis, and I stumbled back, my eyes darting between the girl and the horrifying tableau within the dollhouse. Could it be true? Could these tiny figures, so lifeless and still, actually be alive? The thought was both absurd and terrifying. Were the figures inside truly alive, their movements hidden from my sight? I leaned in closer, my breath fogging up the glass. The dolls remained motionless, their painted eyes staring blankly ahead. But in the corner of my vision, I thought I saw a flicker of movement, a tiny hand twitching, a head turning ever so slightly. My heart raced as I tried to convince myself it was just my imagination. But deep down, I knew the truth. They were alive and they were watching me, waiting for the moment I would look away. Section 8. Trapped in the Miniature Nightmare. The title alone sent shivers down my spine, a prelude to the terror that awaited me. Panic surged through me, threatening to overwhelm me. My heart pounded in my chest like a drum, each beat echoing the fear that gripped my soul. I had to escape this cursed attic, this house of horrors. The air was thick with dust and the scent of decay, making it hard to breathe. Every shadow seemed to move, every creak of the floorboards a sinister whisper. But as I turned to flee, the room began to spin. The walls blurred, and the floor seemed to tilt beneath my feet. It was as if the house itself was alive, determined to keep me trapped within its nightmarish embrace. The walls closed in, the air growing thick and heavy. I could feel the pressure building, squeezing the breath from my lungs. It was like being buried alive, the weight of the house pressing down on me. I stumbled and fell, my hand landing on the cold, hard surface of the dollhouse. The tiny structure felt oddly familiar, its intricate details mirroring the very room I was trapped in. A jolt of electricity shot through me, and then everything went black. It was as if the dollhouse had a life of its own, pulling me into its miniature world with a force I couldn't resist. When I opened my eyes, I was no longer in the attic. The familiar, oppressive darkness was gone, replaced by an eerie, unsettling light. I was inside the dollhouse, shrunk down to the size of a doll. The once tiny furniture now loomed large, and the walls that had seemed so close were now towering above me. I was trapped in a miniature nightmare, a prisoner in a world that defied all logic and reason. The realization hit me like a ton of bricks. I was no longer the master of my fate, but a mere plaything in a twisted game. Section 9. Escape from the Miniature Nightmare. Panic threatened to consume me as I found myself trapped within the horrifying world of the dollhouse. The once familiar rooms now loomed large, distorted, and menacing. I could hear the faint giggles of children, their voices laced with malice. Each room I entered presented a new horror, a fresh nightmare pulled from the darkest recesses of my mind. I had to escape, but the dollhouse held me captive, its grip tightening with each passing moment. Section 10. The Lingering Curse. With a surge of adrenaline, I broke free from the dollhouse's grasp, my body returning to its normal size. The attic, once again familiar, felt tainted, forever marked by the horrors I had witnessed. The dollhouse sat silently, its secrets locked within its miniature walls. But I knew the truth. The dollhouse was not just a haunted object. It was a conduit to another realm, a gateway to a realm of unimaginable terror. And I fear the curse it carries will never truly be broken. Section 11. Join the nightmare. Like and subscribe. Did you feel the chill down your spine? The grip of fear tightening around your throat? That's the power of a good horror story. If you dared to watch until the very end, give this video a like and subscribe to our channel for more terrifying tales that will keep you up at night. And remember, sometimes the most innocent-looking objects can harbor the darkest secrets. Sweet dreams.